Okay, so I believe that we are ready to begin, but somehow there are only 12 people here, and I don't understand why. Okay, so let's start. Good afternoon. Today is a lovely day, isn't it?
Longer than 5 minutes. And if you present your work in pairs, your speech shouldn't be longer than 7 minutes. Please,
Okay, so let's try once again. So good afternoon. I'm glad to welcome you at our conference, Public Relations as a Brand Awareness Booster, and at our section, International Public Relations. My name is Prokhorova Anastasia Sergeyevna, and I'm going to be your moderator today. First of all, let me remind our speakers that we have a time limit, 7 minutes per report. And our dear guests, after each speech, you may ask your questions if you have any. You may raise your hand, your virtual hand, and ask a question by yourself. Or in case of some problems, you may type it in our chat. Now I believe we are ready to begin. So our first speakers are going to be from People's Friendship University of Russia. Яковлева Ольга Андреевна, Свирская Кристина Арсеньевна, Романова Татьяна Вадимовна, and Dalichuk Елена Grigorievna. And they are going to, you're welcome to present your report, Features of Public Relations in the Non-Profit Sector, Social Idea as PR.
Yes, hello. I would like to ask 2 minutes because my colleagues, they are in other conference. Just they probably they missed I called you just did some call, and because you invited me, did they get the same call?
I believe yes.
Just I don't know why they did not find it. It's second. Just 1 minute. And I add my presentation.
Okay, you're welcome. So I can see that Christina is here.
Okay. Tatiana, she's here too, no?
Yes, well, I'm here.
Okay.
And Lena? Okay, we would like to present our presentation about non-profit PR. And I think it's a very important profit in our modern condition. So, is it big window or small one?
It is a big, it's okay.
It's okay, thank you. Okay, public relation in the social sphere is an activity aimed at the formation, support, and development of the necessary relationship with people, organization, objects, events, ideas, etc. The formation of positive models of behavior in people. The main idea of non-commercial public relation in the service is promoted here, and it's mainly performed to promote reputation in a professional field. The most attractive area for sponsorship is sport, as sporting events usually draw a huge audience. The Olympic Games, the Formula One races, Formula and European football cups have the greatest entertainment value and therefore advertising impact. Fundraising is carried out mainly by educational organizations, universities, institutes, colleges, licenses, schools, etc. Healthcare, hospitals, healthcare centers, culture, museums, theaters, libraries, sports, and also foundations and religious groups. The research states is focused on identifying effective forms and methods for implementing an information campaign. The planning stage is aimed at identifying the resource provision of the campaign, as well as the target audience to be influenced. The choice of priority forms and methods of activity. The stage of organization work with target audience involves the management of social behavior, taking into account the social qualities of people, of a cultural, educational, moral level, field of activity, territory of residence, and other parameters. In modern conditions, a non-profit organization must necessarily carry out multi-level communications, forms its own information policy, and plan a system of information events. An important role in this process undoubtedly belongs to the media. In other words, use public relations and to create and support publicity, recruit new supporters, and ensure openness and transparency of your activities. And I would like to join my colleague, and she will continue. She will continue.
Oля, thank you. So next slide, please.
Yes.
Social movements are usually connected with non-commercial organizations that in their turn collaborate with companies in order to raise funds for different projects, programs, and so on. And this collaboration is an effective way to improve social image of a company, to attract new clients, and to promote its brand. These days, there are lots of social movements for rights. Most of them play an important role in modern society, though there are a few of them widely known, such as Black Lives Matter, Me Too, School Strike for Ecology, Girls' Rights to Education, and others. And they gain popularity with the help of the mass media and social media that are the main information resources today. And Black Lives Matter is perhaps the most famous one. Next slide, please. It's an popular social movement for rights of Black people and other people of color. This movement started as a campaign in social media in 2013, and now it's supported by millions of people around the world. The phenomena of Black Lives Matter movement can be explained with the names most associated with it, like George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor. They're not the movement's leaders, but the victims that have drawn attention to the massive issues of racism in the United States of America. And the murder of unarmed George Floyd that happened during the pandemic and was massively covered in mass and social media, and it had a burst effect. People posted hashtag Black Lives Matter. They posted black squares. Lots of people, they went to the streets to demonstrate that they were against racism and police violence. And since then, BLM movement has increased dramatically. The Black Lives Matter Global Network is registered in the United States of America as a non-profit organization, and now it's getting grants and pledges from foundations. Next slide, please. So this movement is an example of how brands help create social change. So brands build trust with their audience by giving their voices to the movement, and it's important in forging a deeper customer relationship. Next slide, please. So according to Purpose Report for 2020, most respondents show concern with racial rights and domestic violence, access to education, and other important social issues. And a respectful campaign addresses the issues currently being faced as well as acknowledging bias while establishing a meaningful connection to the brand. And here you can see the examples of successful PR campaigns that companies created to support Black Lives Matter movement. So, for example, Twitter showed on billboards tweets from Black users, and these billboards were in Atlanta, Chicago, Los Angeles, Louisville, Minneapolis, New York, and other cities where protests took place. Nike swept out their regular "Just Do It" slogan with the campaign "Just Don't Do It." Uber pledged to be an anti-racist company and doubled Black representation among the 5 main sectors, corporate sectors, and the company also spotlighted Black-owned restaurants in Uber Eats and placed billboard where it said that Uber didn't support and serve racists. And even though Black Lives Matter movement has a lot of followers in the US and across the world, it hasn't gained popularity in Russia. maybe because of our history that there weren't a lot of Black people in our country, but we also have our own popular PR campaigns, and Christina is going to tell about one of them.
Yes, so I'm going to deliver a speech about the social movement Я, мы, Тихий океан, and I have no reason to translate it because it's Russian and is connected to our environment and our environmental situation and issues. So yeah, one of the most famous catastrophes during recent years happened on the coast of Pacific Ocean in Kamchatka, and we could see that dozens of dead animals were found on the coast, and it was said that it was on Halaktirsky beach. And I would like to say how it started, and I would like to deliver this speech about the details of the starting this campaign. So it started from one simple girl who has no more than 300 followers on Instagram, but she's an owner of travel agency, and she doesn't remember how she posted on the internet her post about Halaktirsky beach. Next slide, please.
Christina, we can't hear you.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Well, I think Christina has some problems with connection, so let's wait for her for 2 minutes. If she couldn't join, we will continue.
Well, okay, let's do so.
Yes, can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yes, we can hear you. You can continue.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, I was speaking about Christina Rosenberg, the owner of travel agency, who posted on her Instagram one of the most popular posts these days. And yeah, so she was delivering her message about the dead animals, and a lot of people reacted. And as you can see, this post gained about 500,000 likes. Yeah, so she was speaking about how the government didn't react, and she was furious about that. So her post was quite emotional, and that's why this post quickly was caught by Ksenia Sobchak, by Yuri Dud, such famous interviewers, and their posts gained about 1 million of likes. And the Ministry of Nature of Kamchatka Territory reacted to the post on the same day, and they posted the video on Instagram as Christina, and they told that they understand and they will do something with it. So there were a lot of theories according to the topic, and there were a lot of theories how this situation happened, but according to famous interviewers such as Ksenia Sobchak, she was referring to the video posted on the official account of Ministry of Natural Resources of Kamchatka, and it was noticed that Halaktirsky beach was cleaned after it, and after this situation, after this post, the campaign of Я, мы, Тихий океан began, because people thought that the ministry cleaned up the beach to clean the traces of the tragedy, and everything would be silenced again. In the coming days, a lot of people began reacting, and the next slide, please. Yeah, and a lot of people began reacting, and a lot of YouTube shows were released, such as Irina Shikman show «Поговорить». She proposed to the guests to speak according to Halaktirsky Beach campaign, and yeah, so there were a lot of famous people there, and more than 1 million views on YouTube. Yeah, so such things happen, and it influences our environmental campaigns, and it is important for people to react, because without people's reaction there will be no reaction from government. And Yammy Tikhий Okean is the main proof of this fact. And my colleague Liana will speak about organization, non-profit organizations such as Greenpeace, and I will give the floor to her.
Well, is your colleague here?
I think she just couldn't join because she's at work. She said that she could join only between 12 and 12:20, and now it's 12:20, so we can talk, so we can share her part. I may start. So
okay, please.
Okay. So the day of Patron and Philanthropist is celebrated on the 13th of April. Ola, next slide, please. Yeah, and this holiday was established in 2005, and it's associated with the birth of Gaius Quirinus Maecenas, the Roman patron of artists and musicians. And of course, in Russia, there were also people who were patrons and who spent a lot of money on charity. So here you can see 3 most famous patrons. Sava Morozov, he was an industrialist and entrepreneur. Pavel Tretyakov, I think everybody knows Tretyakov Gallery. So I think he's one of the greatest patrons in Russia. So Sava Mamontov, he was also an entrepreneur and counselor. And if we turn to history, the main form of charity in Russian Empire from the 9th century, of course, it was the church. And lots of people, they visited church, and then we can we may say that there were professional beggars. And of course, later it began to create problems, especially in large cities. And I think approximately in the 17th century, the situation began to change. There were severe restrictions directed against such activities as begging. During the reign of Peter the Great, there was a transition to the creation of a donation system and the organization of special institutions for the provision of social assistance. And under the influence of European Enlightenment, development of charity took place in Russia. So then Catherine the Great introduced social institutions which managed public schools, hospitals for sick and insane. And this period was quite prolific for patrons. So after the Catherine the Great, her grandson continued this activity, and in the 19th century, people spent lots of money on charity.
And yeah, and I would like to say about these famous representatives of that time, and also Sava Mamontov, a railway industrialist and entrepreneur. His house in the 1870s and 19th turned into the center of creativity and cultural life. He founded the first private opera in Russia and helped create the Museum of Fine Arts, the Pushkin State Museum of Fine Arts. Among Mamontov's friends are such artists as Vasnetsov, Polenov, and Rubel. Mamontov was also the producer of Fyodor Shaliapin, organized his organizing his concerts. Pavel Tretyakov, entrepreneur and patron. After visiting the Hermitage, he decided to create a unique collection of paintings by Russian artists. Before creating his own art gallery, he organized the orphanage and for artists, widows, and orphans. By the time he was 40, he decided to build a separate buildings for the collections, as it had grown enormous. This is how the Tretyakov Gallery appeared. Sava Morozov, entrepreneur and manufacturer, participated in the creation of the Moscow Art Theater, donated a huge amount for the construction and other expenses of the theater. Thanks to Morozov, for the first time in Russia theater, lighting equipment appeared. He preferred to donate anonymously.
Okay, the next slide, please. Okay, yeah, and the next, I guess. Okay, yeah, well, so it seems that the revolution completely destroyed charity and patronage. However, that is not quite true. Soviet government, its attitude to charity changed in connection with various critical events. For example, with the beginning of Great Patriotic War, workers of the factories decided to donate their earnings to Homeland Defense Fund. And so non-monetary aid also began flourishing. Also, subotniks were held, school children and students provided various types of assistance. Modern Russia is characterized by the extensive development of charity, and more charitable organizations appears. Private and corporate foundations are created, and concerts and events are organized. Having passed a long-term path of formation, charitable activity now became a full-fledged social work. And modern charity in Russia is regulated by legislative acts, which makes it more targeted, transparent, and effective. Many famous and successful people are engaged in charity within the framework of their own organization. For example, the funds of Chopan Khamatova and Dina Korzun, Give Life, and Dynasty by Dmitry Zinin, and funds of Konstantin Khabensky and other famous people. Absolutely any Russian, to the best of his ability, can take part in charitable activities, but you need to be afraid of frauds, which is overspread on the internet and social media. Thank you for your attention. Yes, that's it.
Okay, thank you for your report. It was very informative. So let's ask our guests if there are any questions. Okay, I can't see any questions, but actually I have one. So I would like to ask you, are there any peculiarities in non-profit PR in Russia comparing to other countries, for example, America, the USA?
Well, I think yes, because if to compare Black Lives Matter movement with Yama Tikhий Okean, we may say that BLM is a worldwide organization now, and it's still very popular among people, and I think it may influence lots of countries, especially it may give some privileges to people of color. And if we speak about Russia and Russian social organizations, they don't have a big impact on our government, and that's the point. I think if we have such organizations as in Europe or in United States of America, we may influence the government. And for example, there won't be any ecological catastrophes that happen from time to time in our country.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I still can't see any other questions. So thank you very much for participation. Okay. Wait for a minute, girls. Yeah, there are one question, I believe. Evgeny Demidov, please.
Yes, hello, my name is Evgeny Demidov, and my question for the speakers. Yeah, thanks again for telling this interesting presentation. So, what was the main reason of beggars being prohibited in Russia?
Well, I think it's the same problem that we have today. So if you go underground, you may see lots of professional beggars, and people they are kind by nature, and especially in Russia, when people went to the church, they donated a lot of money to the church and to the people who were near the church. And so professional beggars, they just used this opportunity. And I think the government, it wanted to rule this sector. And that's why Peter the Great, he created some institutions, some organizations that just managed the process of donations in our country.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your question, and thank you, girls. Okay, I believe that it's time to move to next speakers, and they are also from People's Friendship University of Russia. Nikita Akulov and Olga Bezumova, you are welcome to present your report, Social Networks as a Means of a Product Promotion on the Market.
Yes, thank you. I will share my screen. So I hope you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bezumova Olga and my colleague Akulov Nikita, and we would like to present our project called Social Networks as a means of a product promotions of the market. And at the very beginning, Nikita will tell you about social networks as a new way in PR. And Nikita, let's start, please.
Yes, thanks, Olga. Hello, everyone. Now I'm going to tell you about some issues in social networks which are connected with PR. So currently, social networks are a serious tool for sales of products and services, which is used by various companies. In order to promote and develop their own brands. To tell the truth, this is a relatively new way in PR, and the point is that different entrepreneurs are looking for new means which can help them find maybe demand and try to please their consumers. So the implementation of PR involves the active employing of internet resources, different internet resources. For example, maintaining various channels on different video platforms, corporate accounts in social media, and so on and so on. And using digital technologies allows them to reach a big number of target consumers. Of course, with the help of social networks, companies can profitably present their brand and products to the target audience, especially thanks to feedback. And traditional media, in this case, traditional media sources are inferior in popularity and effectiveness. Social networks contribute to the creation of an organization's image, increase brand awareness, product and sales promotions too. As for popularity of media platforms, a percentage is shown on the screen, and of course in terms of the number of users. So if we talk about Russia, the first place has been taken by YouTube, of course, then DK, after that Instagram, and OK, Facebook and Telegram. So various methods and ways for doing business through social networks by way of advertised services and manufactured goods are presented. And all these actions are aimed at using social networks as promotion channels, and it is considered as a formative method of the company's image with a good reputation, of course, and also increasing the loyalty of target groups. So it should be understood that a huge number of social media users are potential buyers and clients, of course. So, and Olga, continue, please.
Thank you. And in addition, we also have to say about two areas of development. The first one is creation of brand communities like groups in social networks, representative accounts, and so on. And with the help of these tools, it is possible to form a community of interested consumers who are ready to receive information about the brand's products and give feedback. And the second is targeted advertising. Next slide, please, Nikita. Thank you. The analysis of a system as digital marketing is carried out. It is targeted and interactive marketing of products and services that uses digital technologies to attract potential customers and retain them as consumers. The main goals of digital marketing are brand promotion and sales growth through a variety of techniques. And the main digital marketing tools applicable to social media are contextual advertising, placing advertisement of thematic sites or social networks. The second is banner advertising, and the third is advertising windows. This is a method of online advertising, which implies displaying pop-up ads on thematic platforms. Thank you. Nikita, please.
So, yes, and in conclusion, we want to say that the prospects for the development of product promotion through social networks are quite wide, because PR activity in social media nowadays is a new marketing communication phenomena which is currently developing, and the process of promoting a product on internet platforms is a fundamentally new way of influencing the opinion of consumers and clients. So, thank you for your attention. And now, if you have some questions, we will answer them with pleasure.
Okay, it was very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me check if there are any questions in our chat. Well, unfortunately, I can't see any. Okay. What about our dear guests? Okay, then I have one question for you.
Yeah.
Can we say that target audience for PR in social media are young people, as they spend much more time in social media as the elder people?
Honestly, yes. We can connect people's activity in social network and so on, and of course young people spend much more time than adults and so on, but the principal idea is region, I guess, nowadays, because I think that there is no much difference between ages, since people in Russia have begun to actively use these tools in both categories, and in general it's possible in America or other European countries, for example, people are involved in this more because if you have a good PR campaign, good product, and so on, it of course it can influence on your activity and so on, but I think that now it is not so important and have a great impact.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So let me ask one more time if there are any questions. And actually, I still can't see any, so thank you.
Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Okay, and it's time to move to next speaker. And our next speaker is also from People's Friendship University of Russia. Davlatbek Davlatov, you are welcome to present your report, PR development in Germany.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
So, just a minute, I will share. So, do you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. So, let's get started. Okay. Good day, dear colleagues and participants. I'm pleased to present you my article on PR development in Germany. In Germany, Karl Hohenhausen was the first to use the term PR with its present-day meaning in 1937, when he wrote an article on public relations. Karl Hohenhausen mentions in his article the following definition. Public relations is the art of creating a favorable public opinion for one's own company, its product or service through the spoken or printed word, through actions, or through visible symbols. The decision about when the beginning of public relations is set and how the development of PR in a country is reconstructed fundamentally depends on how public relations is defined. But the exact origin of German advertising dates back to 1722, when the first advertising newspapers appeared in Frankfurt. In addition to traditional commercial publications, there was a personalian section in which births, funerals, and weddings were reported. Even then, politicians noticed the importance of purposeful influence on public opinion by controlling the newspapers published at that time. Thus, they spread their political ideas faster and more effectively. The development of PR in Germany has always been shaped and influenced by political, economic, social, and technical conditions. In this context, the changing types of state had a decisive impact on German PR history. The German Alliance, an alliance of states of German princes and free cities, was succeeded by the German Reich and the Weimar Republic, followed by the National Socialist dictatorship of the Third Reich, and eventually the establishment of two German states after World War II, which reunited in 1990. These turning points in national history are reflected in the attempts to structure the history of German PR into periods. Scientific German PR historiography has been emerging. Professor of Public Relations at the University of Leipzig, Günther Bentele, identified 7 periods of German PR history. The different historical periods are categorized according to criteria, such as structural changes of political system and economic or technical criteria in later periods. The first period, which can be called emergence of the professional field, starts in the early 19th century and ends at the close of World War I in 1918. The earliest organized activities can be observed in the sphere of politics, the economic sphere, and the sphere of association followed later. During this period, the first press departments in the political and economic spheres began to form. The second period was a time of consolidation and growth that covers the Weimar Republic. It testified to new social conditions, a parliamentary democratic form of government, and an economically independent and active press that was no longer controlled by the state. The press departments of companies and associations developed rapidly. It had become just as with the press relations of the state institution, more important in the new democratic forums and was significantly expanded. The first boom period of German PR. Because of the economic boom of the golden 20s, not only the state, but more and more companies, associations recognized the necessity and use of PR. PR's expansion in the Weimar Republic was an important period in German PR history, in that, for the first time, the practice became possible under the condition of a democratic public sphere. These conditions changed suddenly with the takeover of political power by the Nazis. The third period, National Socialism propaganda and press relations, the time of National Socialism, which was coterminous with the third period of German PR history, represented a step backwards for public communications. Under the Nazi dictatorship, the media were brought in line and exploited to advance the Nazi doctrine. The National Socialist state made great propagandistic efforts, and the oppressed media served as loudspeakers of political and ideological content. Of course, it's quite difficult to say about advertising and PR in Germany in the 20th century, since this century turned out to be difficult and full of global events for this country. Firstly, the First and Second World Wars. Secondly, the creation of the Third Reich. During this period, propaganda was everywhere. Political propaganda was noticed even in ordinary consumer goods. For example, on the posters of well-known Coca-Cola with the slogan, "One people, one Reich, and one drink." So, the fourth period, new beginning and upswing. After 1945, in the early phase of economic and political reconstruction, there were several years during which press relations of some organizations may have been carried on here and there, but the wider development of PR began only in the early 50s. The first publications on PR appeared in 1951. In the following years, there was reorientation and in alternate democratic self-image of PR, and also indications of its quantitative expansion. PR, in the context of parliamentary democracy, not only had to redefine itself, but it also had to distance its practices clearly from Nazi propaganda. Separation from advertising was also important in defining PR's role and purpose. The fifth period, consolidation of the field, the year 1958, when the German Public Relations Association was established, marked the beginning of the fifth period and can be described as consolidation of the field. During this period, the professional field started to form nationally. The first PR agency was established in 1952. Other agencies followed in the 50s, before this field became much stronger from the 60s onwards. The sixth period, boom of the professional field, beginning of university education and research. In the mid-80s, the professional field of PR in the Federal Republic started to boom. Membership of the professional association rose strongly from the mid-80s, and the percentage of PR organizations who had members of PR organizations who had academic diploma rose from 30% in the mid-80s to over 60% in the early 90s. Training activities became more intensive, and from early in the 90s, in the field of communication science, PR became a topic in university education and research. The seventh period of German PR history is characterized by by the global development of the internet and thus by online PR, as well as by changes that have occurred through the social media. For communication departments of international companies, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week operation is normal. And increasing acceleration of the external and internal communication can be observed. But what can we say about advertising and PR in Germany at the moment? Modern German advertising, for example, has a number of features. Firstly, the absence of a large number of billboards. Large format advertising in the country is expensive and is usually limited to placement for 1 and 2 days. Therefore, it's not popular among manufacturers. Secondly, the existence of old poster stands. If billboards are expensive, firms replace them with advertising posters on street, which are everywhere, even in the smallest city in Germany. Such promotion is quite cheap and also attracts the attention of potential customers. Thirdly, leaflets and advertising brochures are not distributed on the streets. They are sent by mail, social media applications. Such promotion, however, can be irritating for the population. Well, in conclusion, I would like to note that German advertising and PR is a special phenomenon. They differ from American and French PR. They have their own specific features and special ways of promotion. Today, both in advertising and in PR, German companies are doing very well. There are many examples of firms that have their own image. They are characterized by high quality and manufactured goods and services. They manufacture stability and durability of their goods. After all, it seems that for every consumer, German machinery and cars are associated with the very best, which was taken care of by the right PR campaign and allowed the manufacturing giants to achieve their colossal success. Well, here is references, and thank you for your attention. If you have a question, I'm ready to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much. I can see that Irina Yeliseva has a question. You are welcome.
Yeah, right, thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Well, thank you, Develbeck, for your presentation. You mentioned that this brand is maintained by brochures and leaflets, so this way they develop and maintain the brand, in fact, and the product, right?
Yes.
What other ways do they do nowadays to maintain the product and to develop and so that customers won't lose interest in the product?
Yes, thanks for your question. It's the interesting one. I want to add here that nowadays that spreading the leaflets or brochures, and you know that even here in Moscow, it's really irritating for population. They just spread the leaflets, and even though we just throw them away. But now in Germany, they, as everywhere, because of online PR, they promote their brand advertisement and the new news about them to promote their brand. They just use social media applications in there, and it's really effective and not so irritatable. That's why it's the best way to say they do.
Okay, I see. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Let me check if there are any questions in our chat. So I can't see any, so thank you very much. It was very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next speaker is from St. Petersburg State University of Economics, Alexander Chernet. You are welcome to present your report.
Yes, I'm ready. So, окей. Мы поговорим немного про экономику, поэтому чуть-чуть переключимся на русский. Вот. о управлении персоналом, о кадровом резерве и потенциале. Сейчас прям минутку. Так что кому как будет удобнее. Так, пару слов о себе еще скажу. Меня зовут... Все видно, все слышно, правильно?
Да, все хорошо.
Прекрасно. Меня зовут Шарней Александра. Я обучаюсь в Санкт-Петербургском государственном экономическом университете на направлении управления персоналом. И сегодня я бы вам хотела рассказать о геймификации как инструменте формирования HR-бренда IT-компании на примерах международных и российских компаниях. Вообще стоит сказать, что же такое HR-бренд, разобраться с основными понятиями, возможно, чуть-чуть сложными, непонятными. Обо всем и по порядку. Стоит сказать, что существующие изменения внешней и внутренней среды бизнеса, они стимулировали конкуренцию во всех отраслях, с одной стороны, а с другой стороны существует проблема с квалифицированным наймом сотрудников, которые побуждают современные компании внедрять порой креативные инструменты для поддержания своих рыночных позиций. И одним как раз из таких инструментов и является геймификация, которая обрела в последнее время особую актуальность как на международном, так и на российском уровне. Почему же все-таки IT-компании? IT-компании же, они всегда открыты инновациям, они готовы опробировать абсолютно любые экспериментальные инструменты на практике, они не боятся их внедрять, так как знают, что в основном их персонал – это молодые сотрудники, которые представляют поколение Z. Что же такое HR-бренд и что HR-специалисты понимают под ним? HR-бренд – это имидж организации, который должен привлекать работников. Также он отражает уровень вовлеченности сотрудника в рабочий процесс, усиливает репутацию компании и интерес сотрудника не только к фирме, но и к своему рабочему месту. HR-бренд, он отвечает за облегчение поиска сотрудников, за их удержание и формирование лояльности персонала. Сильный HR-бренд воспринимается соискателем как признак какой-либо стабильности. Вакантное место становится более популярным на рынке труда и, следовательно, конкурентоспособным. В то время как слабо развитый HR-бренд, он может отпугнуть высококвалифицированного специалиста. Исследователи же выделяют два вида HR-брендинга. Это внутренний, который направлен на формирование лояльности уже имеющегося персонала, и внешний, который направлен на соискателей, то есть будущих потенциальных работников. Что такое геймификация? Все мы прекрасно знаем, что 21 век – это время технических открытий, компьютерных инноваций и новейших технологий. Именно по этой причине современного человека становится все сложнее удивить, а тем более удержать как потенциального работника. И в связи с данными причинами компании начали внедрять и рассматривать игру как эффективный способ вовлечения и мотивации сотрудников. Понятие же самой геймификации, оно связано с использованием игровых идей, программ лояльности и поведенческой экономики. Почему же все-таки IT-компании решились использовать данный инструмент на практике? И почему я выбрала именно данную отрасль? Стоит сказать, что IT-компании всегда же являлись лидером по внедрению геймификации для решения бизнес-задач, как на внутреннем, так и на внешнем уровнях. И одной из причин стало то, что персонал – это в основном молодые специалисты, которые выросли на играх и которых этим не удивить. Также одной из причин стало то, что сами IT-компании, они разрабатывают технические решения, на базе которых гораздо легче и быстрее внедрять геймификацию. Еще к одной причине можно отнести то, что IT-компании в основном имеют связи с зарубежными партнерами, которые уже активно используют данный инструмент на практике. Рассмотрим основные игровые элементы в геймификации. Чаще же всего при выстраивании HR-бренда используются следующие игровые элементы, такие как баллы, бейджи, рейтинги, уровни, лидерборды, дайджеты успеха и виртуальная валюта. Посмотрим же, какие игровые элементы в основном применяются в IT-компаниях как международного, так и российского уровня. Первой компанией, которую мы рассмотрим, это будет международная компания в IT-сфере DataArt. Чуть-чуть познакомлюсь с компанией. Это крупная международная IT-компания, которая функционирует с 1997 года. Она имеет 22 центра в 11 странах, и Россия не является исключением. Девиз данной компании – это прежде всего люди. Поэтому компания старается сделать как можно больше для улучшения рабочего процесса. В том числе внедряет передовые технологии, и такие же, как геймификация. И первый геймифицированный проект, разработанный в данной компании, который мы рассмотрим, является Thank You Points. Это виртуальная валюта. Более 8 лет назад DataArt начала внедрять данный проект в рабочую среду. И ключевое направление, которое было закрыто с помощью внедрения данного игрового элемента, это визуализация успехов и достижений своих сотрудников. Стоит сказать, что существует 3 вида типсов. Это thank you very much и thank you very much indeed. И не только коллеги, но и сама компания может поблагодарить своих сотрудников, переводить им типсы на их виртуальные счеты, например, за выступление на конференции, за написание статьи, то есть за любую организацию мероприятий, которая благоприятно скажется на компании. Так, DataArt с помощью такого игрового элемента, как виртуальная валюта, поддерживает и непрофессиональную самореализацию сотрудников. Кроме же того, каждый месяц на счет начисляется абсолютно любому сотруднику по одному типсу. Когда приходит новичок и только адаптируется в компании, ему сразу же начисляется на счет 4. Таким образом, DataArt закрывает еще такое направление геймификации, как преодоление адаптации и дезадаптации сотрудников. Благодаря внедрению данной системы цели IT-компании были достигнуты. Они повысили уровень лояльности сотрудников к HR-бренду, улучшили социально-психологический климат в коллективе и на самом деле не только в одном офисе, так как предоставили возможность отправить типсы абсолютно любому человеку из любого офиса в 22 центрах и в 11 странах. Таким образом, применение геймификации в виде системы Thank You Points, оно позволило создать благоприятную рабочую среду, развило корпоративную культуру и повысило заинтересованность к работе. И стоит отметить, что за 8 лет, то есть 2013 года, проект не потерял своей актуальности, и он до сих пор функционирует. Еще один проект, который мы рассмотрим, был разработан.
Не хотелось бы вас прервать, я очень извиняюсь за это. Я просто хотела напомнить, что у нас есть регламент 7 минут на выступление. Так что держите это,
тогда
пожалуйста.
быстренько сейчас, да.
Да, спасибо.
Второй проект — это проект Скиллатрон. Он был разработан на базе DataArt. Это геймифицированная платформа для IT-специалистов, построенная на принципе онлайн-викторины, то есть онлайн-квиз. Целью данного проекта было просто повысить узнаваемость HR-бренда компании, и данная цель была достигнута. С помощью Скиллатрона они проверили знания сотрудников с помощью онлайн-квиза, но при этом предоставили доступ абсолютно любому пользователю, и за 4 года более 40 тысяч людей приняли участие в данном проекте. И почему же все-таки повысилась узнаваемость HR-бренда? Так как 80% пользователей начали рассматривать Скиллатрон как проект от DataArt, привлекательный, то есть как привлекательного работодателя. Это же был международный опыт. Чуть-чуть сопоставим, в 2 словах объясню, что такое, почему начали применять геймификацию в российских компаниях. И ярким примером выступает IT-компания Mail.ru Group. Я думаю, все прекрасно ее знают. Это крупнейший IT-холдинг в России. И первым геймифицированным проектом стала виртуальная валюта, которую они назвали майнкоины. Ее также можно получить за непрофессиональную самореализацию сотрудников, то есть выступить на конференции, порекомендовать друга своего на должность или прошерстить корпоративную сеть интранет. Все это происходит в Mail.ru Group на базе корпоративной сети интранет. А потратить майнкоины можно также, отблагодарив коллегу, то есть закрывается такое направление геймификации, как мотивация, купить сувенирную продукцию или же отправить на благотворительность, потому что, как мы знаем, Mail.ru Group очень активно занимается благотворительностью. И вторым геймифицированным проектом от Mail.ru Group являются бейджи. Самые популярные из них представлены на слайде. Их же тоже можно получить не только за профессиональные достижения, но и за какие-то личные, собственные успехи и заслуги. Этим компания тоже поддерживает, активно развивает непрофессиональную самореализацию сотрудников. Чуть-чуть сопоставим, почему международный и российский опыт. В международном опыте, как мы заметили, то, что проекты направлены не только на уже имеющего специалиста, но и на привлечение новых соискателей, например, проект Скиллатрон. Российские же IT-компании в основном укрепляют лояльность уже имеющего сотрудника и считают то, что, в принципе, на рынке труда они так хорошо держатся. Но стоит заметить, что существует такое вот общее понятие, то, что все считают, что эффективным игровым элементом для геймификации является виртуальная валюта. Хотелось бы сказать уже, наверное, после выступления банальную вещь, что HR-брендинг и геймификация, они должны работать вместе. Они в 2 раза усилят тогда свою эффективность, будут привлекать талантливых сотрудников с большим творческим потенциалом, что повысит производительность компании. На этом у меня все.
Да, большое спасибо, было очень интересно. Итак, dear guests, have you got any questions? Есть какие-то вопросы? Так, well, I can see that Gabas Varima has a question. You are welcome.
Да, спасибо, Александр, большое за вашу презентацию. Она была очень интересной и обширной. И у меня такой вопрос, наверное, немного на рассуждение и именно на ваше мнение. Вы привели различные, как сказать, методы геймификации. И вот один из них на слайде был, это как построение личных рейтингов сотрудников. Но не лучше ли, например, когда компания или сотрудники работают как единая команда, и у них нет каких-то лидеров, каких-то баллов и так далее и тому подобное? Вот как вы думаете?
Да, спасибо за вопрос. Например, я вот уже изучаю геймификацию. Почему такая получилась обширная презентация? Потому что данной теме я посвящаю больше года. Вот, то есть, получается, у вас вопрос на элемент соревновательности. ну, как мы знаем, игра — это всегда уровни, это всегда какой-то азарт. Поэтому работать как единая команда, да, классно, круто, но при этом, при всем, игра, она и сплочает, и необходимо выделять какие-либо уровни достижения своих сотрудников, поощрять их. Лидерборды, они очень популярны, потому что, например, даже мой вуз использует лидерборды для того, чтобы ставить рейтинги своих студентов. Вот. И на самом деле я знаю, что для многих это большая мотивация работать в 2 раза больше, участвовать в разных проектах, и тем самым они подталкивают себя на достижение каких-либо новых целей. Поэтому все равно существует какая-то организационная структура в компании, и всегда человек хочет расти. Поэтому лидерборды, они не являются исключением. Как бы ты будешь работать в команде, в классной, крутой, где все умненькие профессионалы. Но при этом ты хочешь быть всегда первым. Это элемент соревновательности, от него никуда не деться. Ты хочешь быть конкурентоспособным. Я надеюсь, я ответила на ваш вопрос.
Да, спасибо вам большое.
Да, большое спасибо. Я вижу, что еще кто-то тянет руку, но, к сожалению, я не вижу, кто. Откликнитесь, пожалуйста.
Добрый день. Видно меня, слышно?
Добрый день, да, слышно.
Да, ну, также спасибо большое за очень интересный доклад. Маленький вопросик, просто вот интересно, как вы считаете, насколько популярна и вообще имеет ли это смысл конвертация вот такой вот виртуальной валюты, виртуальных типсов во что-то материальное? Ну, например, повышение зарплаты или подарочная кружка или что-то в таком духе.
Да, спасибо за вопрос. Я очень рада, что эта тема, она вызвала такую бурную реакцию, вот, потому что действительно интересно. Просто из-за того, что чуть-чуть тайминг, например, в Mail.ru Group они конвертируют реально свои виртуальные деньги, но только пока на благотворительность. То есть 1 майкоин, он стоит 100 рублей благотворительности. Вот. Также можно получить сувенирную продукцию, то есть просто обменять. Это все конвертируется в сувенирную продукцию, можно в Mail.ru группе тоже бесплатно съездить, ну не бесплатно, а за счет компании на международную конференцию. Вот. При этом просто надо быть активным, целеустремленным и конкурентоспособным. Это самое главное. Вот, поэтому все это возможно конвертировать, но не в повышение зарплаты. Почему не повышение? Потому что сейчас поколение Z, в основном которое мотивируется за счет нематериального стимулирования. То есть важны какие-то вот поощрения, потому что есть у нас материальное стимулирование и нематериальное. В основном сейчас, конечно, люди работают за денежку, но всегда приятно, когда тебе дадут какую-нибудь гранту лишнюю.
Хорошо, спасибо большое.
Спасибо большое, спасибо, Александр. Было действительно очень интересно и информативно. Спасибо. Okay, and it's time to move to next speaker. Our next speaker is from Ningbo University. Kuznets Ivan, you are welcome to present your report, Public Diplomacy in Strengthening of Russian-Chinese Relations and Developing National Public Opinion and Awareness.
Okay, thank you very much. 1 second, so I will play the presentation. Can you see the slides?
No, we can't see your screen. Try once again, please.
Sorry. Okay, how about now?
No, nothing has changed, unfortunately.
Sorry, that's strange. Okay, so let me please just send the presentation to us, to share it as a file. Can I do that? I'm sorry, can you please give me access to send a file to you somehow? Because I don't have like a button to send it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Можете, пожалуйста, мне как-то дать доступ, чтобы я презентацию отправил?
I'm sorry, I don't know how we can do it.
Вот вы говорите, что не видно.
Прошу прощения, я не знаю, как это сделать. One moment. I really don't know what to do. Can you upload it in our chat?
Could you please give me a link to the chat? Because I don't have it in Teams.
Well, it is above. You can see some pictograms above, can't you?
I see them below. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Do you have access to the email of our conference? May I email the presentation?
One moment. I'll give you my email so you can send it. One moment. Can you see my email in my chat? And here is Pavel Andreevich. You can send your presentation to him, to Pavel Andreevich. Okay?
I'm sorry. Can we please move to the next presenter and then it will be me because I can't see the chat.
Okay. You can't see?
Yeah. So please, can we move to the next presenter? I will maybe restart my.
Yeah. Okay. So our next speakers are from People's Friendship University of Russia, Anastasia Usynina and Anastasia Vasilkovskaya. You are welcome to present your report. No need to fly around the world in Germany. German Rail Staycation PR campaign. Are you here?
Yes, thank you, Anastasia. We are uploading presentation.
Okay. You're welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Anastasia Usynina. Today, my colleague Anastasia Vasilkovskaya and I would like to present you German Rail Staycation PR campaign. Tourist trips have always been an important part of Europeans' lives. According to the Next Tourism Generation Alliance, outbound tourism prevails in Germany. People prefer to spend their holidays abroad instead of exploring the corners of their home country. In July 2019, German Rail launched an extremely successful digital campaign aimed at promoting domestic tourism. Together with the Ogilvy advertising agency and the Getty Images for the agency, they used the lookalike algorithm to find places in Germany similar to the iconic international attractions.
The first step was to search for images of popular tourist destinations such as the Grand Canyon in Arizona or the canals in Venice, with a parallel comparison showing similar places in Germany. The Getty Images search algorithm was used for that. Thus, the company proved that Germany has no less to offer than the rest of the world.
The second step was the pricing strategy. For instance, in the advertising campaigns of airline companies, high-class tickets are compared with the budget ones. German Rail used a strategy that showed that a train ride would be significantly cheaper than an airplane flight.
The first step of the PR campaign was to attract attention with the help of data and technology. Facebook, as well as Instagram and YouTube, still have the potential to promote outbound tourist destinations. The PR campaign of German Rail has shown that the availability of specific options for placing popular destinations attracts more attention from the media using data and technology. Two different types of advertising were created: visual advertising comparing the international direction with a similar direction in Germany, as well as targeted video advertising. Geo-targeting allowed to determine the nearest airport to each person and the destination, while the search engine determined the lowest cost of the flight. The PR campaign of German Rail made every Facebook ad personalized, adapted to the user's current location and the interests of tourists.
Now we will tell you about social networks and internet resources and the way German Rail used them for the campaign. Using Facebook data, the program identified people and tourist destinations they were interested in. Also, almost instantly, a favorable offer was presented to the user, accompanied by visual effects created with the help of Getty images, showing a similar place to stay in Germany in comparison with the international destination of his interest. Thus, the German Rail campaign was fully automated.
Using Spirable Creative Platform, German Rail was able to show dynamically a parallel comparison of the most beautiful tourist destinations from around the world compared to the same attractive destinations in Germany, which look almost the same. The Spirable platform is connected to flight channels to receive daily flight data that quickly updates the video by comparing two locations.
Finally, with the help of geotagging technology and Google search, video ads were shown to the audience, updated with real-time prices in which two magnificent places were compared, one in Germany and one abroad, with a detailed description of the cost of a trip from the nearest airport to the foreign country. In the first 13 days of the campaign, 750 unique ads were created.
Thanks to the visual idea, the campaign managed to increase brand awareness. Daily ad updates reduced ad fatigue and followed users to see multiple versions of the same ad. In the end, the PR campaign resulted in a 24% increase in brand revenue. Since then, the PR campaign has won many awards, including 2 Bronze Lions and 2 Silver Lions at the Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity. In addition, the PR campaign received a Gold Award for the Best Social Media Campaign and a Silver Award for the Best Promotion and Advertising Magazines and Trade. The experience of German Rail demonstrates how effective the use of digital technologies in the tourism can be. And if the company managed to bring even domestic tourism to a new level, such advertising of outbound tourism would become even more successful.
Many thanks for your attention. If you have any questions, we would be delighted to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So are there any questions? I can see that Evgeny Demidov has a question. You're welcome.
Thank you. So yeah, thank you for the speakers for bringing up such a unique topic. My question for you is this. So you talked about different social networks being used in this campaign. Which social network was the most effective in bringing in the most clients? Do you have this data?
There was actually no information, but I think that this was Facebook because most campaigns, most ads were on Facebook, and also Instagram and YouTube. They're not so full of advertising, such kind of advertising as Facebook. So, in my opinion, it was Facebook that helped to promote the idea.
Thank you for the answer.
Okay, thank you. Let me check our chat if there are any questions there. So I can't see any. So thank you very much. It was really very interesting. Thank you. Thank you. And now let's move to Ivan again. Can we? Let's try once more. Ivan. Okay, let me check. Pavel Andreevich.
Да-да.
Okay, can you give me some update on Ivan? Because I didn't get his presentation. And I can't hear him as well. Okay, well, the problem is that it is our last speaker, I believe. Margarita Alexandrovna, they talked just now. They have presented their presentation because we had some problems with Ivan Kuzinets. So, and he's going to be our last speaker. Well, he needs to be, actually. Because he had some problems, and that's why we changed their order a little. Okay, let's wait a little, please. We are really sorry that we have some problems. Ivan?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You're here. Okay. We are glad to hear you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I'm doing my best. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen, and now we can see your presentation as well. Thank you.
Okay, so it's a success. Thank you very much for waiting me, and we'll jump to it. My name is Ivan Kasinets. I'm in China now, but I'm from Moscow, from Russia. So, but I still stick to English language on my report. So the topic is public diplomacy in strengthening of Russian-Chinese relations and development national public opinion and awareness. My report is devoted to usage of public diplomacy as a soft power in creating and strengthening national public opinion, awareness, and general impression on country's image and people abroad. It's also devoted to strengthening and development of business and humanitarian relations between Russia and China. And additional attention is given to the phenomenon of social gifts. And also I overview the tangible and monetary forms of this phenomenon. So as we know, necessary element for people from different countries to achieve understanding between each other is to get mutual respect for worldview, lifestyles, cultural values, so on. And in other words, we can call it that we need to have a cultural and diplomatic background, which forms general public opinion as a basis. And today we have a rapid development of IT, and we have a set of PR tools, including social media, SMM systems, targeted advertisement instruments, etc. And if we use those tools alone, of course, we'll get the results in creation and maintaining social ties and business relations. However, my point is that if we remove the cultural background, everything will be very clumsy, less stable, and we will be forced to put much more resources into above tools to keep relationships going. And I see an obvious analogy between public opinion and brand awareness in business when we sell products and services, and if we speak about it in a country scale, like a general country image, including its people, all its companies, and its position on international arena. So I see that there is an exact analogy between these two aspects. And of course, not only direct PR, but also indirect PRs matter. For direct, we usually say about actions to achieve a tactical goal, while indirect is usually more durable and aim to prepare background for fulfilling strategic goals. For example, direct PR in business refers to launching an advertisement campaign to sell a given item, while indirect is generally about creating brand image and awareness in total. And same logic is applicable to international public relations. So maybe direct PR is actions taken by ministers and as establishments, and indirect is considered as popularization of cultural values, building of a national image and awareness about various social and business social background that has been called as public diplomacy. Yes?
We just had some troubles with your microphone, so can you repeat your last sentence, please?
Oh yes. So direct and indirect PR, to be brief, in context of international relations, direct PR may refer to actions taken by Ministry of Foreign Affairs and as establishments, and indirect is about popularization of cultural values, building of national image and awareness abroad, mainly among people and representatives of the country, but not official ones, just like people. So this is a great role that public diplomacy plays in humanitarian cooperation. It's the role of people, which is also known as soft power, and power that helps people and a country to get their interest and authority abroad. Public diplomacy is especially important when it is in the state interest to get friendship and of this relationship between countries even more better. So we have favorable background, so nice background, friendship relations that need to be improved to be more effective and more beneficial. So here, when public diplomacy is very useful. And jump into the topic of a social gift, phenomenon of social gift. It is a very important tool in public diplomacy. Maybe it's not very known one, but nowadays we see more and more examples of this tool. The concept is understood as human activity associated with free, voluntary transfer of some social capital to a certain recipient without personal material benefit, but with an emphasis on the relations that the presenter and the recipient enter into, and which are supported with the help of this gift. We know that despite the sufficient differences in culture of Russia and China, it's two very culturally different countries, but we have gift given in common. So in Russia and in China, presenting a gift is a very common practice to maintain dialogue of cultures and bring nations close together. It's also very effective. And we see that during the last 5 years, maybe or even more, President of Russia Federation, Vladimir Putin, and Chinese President Xi Jinping exchanged a lot of special gifts, exclusive gifts between each other, which don't have a real value. Maybe value is very low, but the social background and meaning is very high. So this is the key to understanding social gifts. And now, I think it's enough about theory. I suggest some practical implementations of above materials, and I give 2 examples in sphere of culture and in sphere of education. So maybe more related to business like education. And in both the spheres, I have myself a direct experience. So I hope I can say that I know what I'm talking about. So cultural sphere. First of all, me, as author of the report, I with my parents have been performing activities in fields of cultural and public diplomacy between Russia and China on our own initiative for many years. And example of our activities is presenting large format oil paintings of our own creation to a number of Chinese state organizations and museums, and all those is as a gift, as a social gift. And as a key here, we see like a painting being presented and the social background. So a very fancy ceremony, a lot of materials published in social media. So all these are attributes of social gift. Just to name above, Beijing Auto Museum and the painting The Car of Dream, Museum of War of Chinese People Resistance Against Japanese Aggression, another painting called 1945 for Peace and Justice, Chinese Museum of Women and Children, and Museum of Natural History, and Beijing Zhongshan Park, Chinese People Association for Friendship with Foreign Countries, even government, not Beijing City. And all these gifts were made in memory of historical events linking the Russian and Chinese people. They also gave the Chinese side an opportunity to show full gratitude, respect, and support of such initiative of Russia's public diplomacy. Bringing information about the social gift to a wide range of Chinese publicity made a certain contribution to enhancing the authority of Russian people and maintaining a good memory of common historical events. So in other words, it benefited directly to the development of a positive image of Russians in China and indirectly to the development of Russian cultural brand image and awareness in China, if we are speaking about like a total, like all Russian people, culture, products, companies, and all business relations altogether. And the next sphere is education sphere. In my opinion, it may also be referred to public diplomacy, as it includes activity that results in wide information, experience, and impression exchange between people, like students, parents, teachers, etc., from involved countries and involved universities. And here I present another form of social gift. It's made in monetary form, so it means not an item, but a money is given. So as example here, I present a double diploma program, bachelor program between State University of Management, Russia, and Ningbo University in China. This is actually the bachelor programs that I graduated earlier this year. And Ningbo University, the Chinese one, he made a great social gift by giving scholarships to international students of this 2+2. So literally every person from Russian Chinese's double diploma program got a generous scholarship to cover all its tuition fees and other expenses. This action was not highlighted widely in mass media, but it got a very widespread in social area of students, staff, and teachers of State University of Management and some other interested universities of Russia via active word of mouth. And in terms of public diplomacy, there was no physical items that's been given to anyone, but this is a social gift because it's just in monetary form, but we do have a social background. And just for reference, making gifts in form of money, in contrast to European customs, is very widespread in China. So for Chinese culture, is also very common to have these monetary gifts. And to conclude, public diplomacy plays an important role in creation of broader public opinion, awareness, and general impression on countries' people, companies, and culture. Phenomenon of social gifting can be observed in two-directional cooperation between Russia and China. And from Russian side, social gifts are often in material form, supported by due social surrounding. And from Chinese side, the gifts are often made in monetary form. So to conclude, modern scientific approach, experience, and the practice of social gifts allow to analyze achievements and shortcomings of national and cultural integration, develop effective strategic and tactical techniques for the development of long-term prospects and forecasting, as well to develop beneficial basis for prosperous business and cultural cooperation between Russia and China. So thank you very much for your attention. I'll be very glad to have new people, maybe for experience exchange or some cooperation in any sphere. So my contact is on the slide. And please feel free to ask me any questions now. I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very informative. So let's see. Okay, I can see that Irina Yelyseva has a question. Irina, please.
Yeah, right. Thank you. So thank you very much for such an interesting presentation. Really, it was interesting to find out some peculiarities of this topic. Well, I think that it is a well-known fact that these countries, I mean, Russia and China, interact and they have very close relationships. And do you think that such a close friendship and interaction between these countries can arise some competition between them? So do Russia and China compete in the spheres which you mentioned? I mean, education and some social aspects.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Well, of course, if we look just for a first sight, from the first sight on everything what's going on, we will not see any of this. We will see a lot of headlines in news that Russia and Chinese best friends, Russian-Chinese relationship on the top level, even according to our president, Vladimir Putin. And it is truly so. But if we thought deeper, then yes, I am sure we can understand that in a while, or even now in some maybe narrow areas, there is a competition. But nowadays, in my opinion, also thanks to the public diplomacy actions, this competition is nearly neutralized. So both countries, we see mutual benefit in cooperation and maybe two-way operation. So nowadays, it's not very extreme, not severe.
Okay, I see. So there are only beneficial sides, yes, not on the contrary.
Well, yes, because the aim of public diplomacy and social gifting is to develop positive social background. So it is less likely to be on something negative. Of course, if we can turn it around on 180 degrees and spread negative information, and that will do just the same, but it's not the direction of my work now. For example, Russian and American, as well as Chinese-American relationships have a lot of issues nowadays. And maybe in Chinese social media, there is a lot of this background, such as buzzing that Chinese and America like fighting and all that. We may consider it as the issue. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we have one more question from our chat. Daria Runskaya wants to know, you mentioned social gifts, but what are other ways how we can build diplomatic relationships? And one more question also from Daria, what Russia can do for China?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so thank you very much. About social gifts. Public diplomacy, like once again, we have diplomacy like official one, the official version such as direct actions of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we have indirect public diplomacy such as conveyed mainly by ordinary people abroad. So in general, it can be any way of actions of these people. They will all refer to public diplomacy and in some way diplomatic relationships. So maybe participation in a lot of conferences, maybe taking part in some activities that are covered in mass media. They all may be referred to as public diplomatic actions. But gifts are very unique and they can be easily memorized because everyone, especially a person, is very pleased when he has a gift accepted, especially if this gift is not like some stupid small thing, but a thing that has rich cultural backgrounds and its social value. And to ask the question, what Russia can do for China?
Yeah.
What Russia can do for China? What do you mean, like in diplomatic relations?
I believe yes.
Yes. So, well, nowadays, since I'm personally in China for the last over 8 years, I see like the background pattern of Chinese people, and nowadays, in my opinion, it's also a good diplomatic partner. Russia is also a good diplomatic partner for China in contrasting with USA. So now we are back to the bipolar world, as we used to have USSR and America, and now we have like Russia and China competing with America. So from Chinese side and from a point of view of Chinese masses, this is maybe one of the actual diplomatic benefits that Russia can give to China.
Okay, thank you. And I can't see any more questions. So thank you very much for your report. Okay. And according to my program, there should be one more speaker, Shou Huan, but I believe that we don't have her with us. Shou Huan. Okay, so when I believe that we all have learned a lot today, as all the reports were very informative and interesting, and public relations and branding are very exciting fields of study, and I believe that our conference proves it each year, and I hope that our guests have enjoyed this conference today just as much as I do, and thank you all for participating and coming, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.